Today we're going to be experimenting with cleaning up old beams. A week and a half or so ago I showed some of the beams that we've got from an old home place that my father disassembled. And I say disassembled because you didn't tear that apart, you disassembled it. It was timber frame home place from the family that owned the property, said mid-1800s. Okay, so these beams have some age on them. They're hand-hewed beams, and there's some pretty substantial beams in there. Well, I want to incorporate some of these into the house that I'm remodeling for myself, that we're remodeling, working on it with my father. All right, so I've got an addition, and I've got to redo the interior for the existing house, which is already gutted. Several of the areas I know I'm going to put beams there. All right, but then there's some other areas I'd like to, I'm trying to figure out how to make this work and look good. Let's put it that way. I was thinking maybe some beams over the door headers for the exterior doors might look good. All right, well, with these beams, I'm not really sure how far I want to go on that or how best to do this. Okay, these are pretty rough right now. It looks good because it's hand hewed. All right, that gives it character, and I mean, these beams have some age on them. Okay, but the wood's rough. It's old. It's really old. Okay, so a lot of splinters, a lot of rough spots in this. I could go over this with a wire wheel. I've seen people do that on YouTube. They take a wire brush wheel on a drill, go over it. But I really didn't like the look that they got from that. Okay, it left the axe marks from the hewing, so the character was still there. It just smoothed everything out. It just didn't look authentic to me. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this beam back to the shop, and we're just gonna experiment. I'm gonna try a hand plane on this and see how much of the rough stuff we can knock off, what that looks like. We'll try a wire wheel on some of this and just to see. All right, and then here's the thing about working with old reclaimed wood and things like that. You've got to figure out exactly what you have before you can figure out how to make it work. Okay, if you're designing something from scratch, new construction, you just design what you want and then you just go get the wood to make it fit. All right, but working with old wood like this, you've got the wood and then you have to figure out how to make everything around it fit. All right, so let me get this on the truck. We're gonna carry it back to the shop and we'll see what we've got here. I guess the first place to start when figuring out what we've got with any wood is just to know the wood. Okay, this is heart pine. All right, well, that's important because this wood here, as soon as I add oil to it, as a matter of fact, let me grab some water. Because this is heart pine, I could leave this as is and put just a coat of boiled linseed oil on this, and this beam would be absolutely gorgeous. And when I say heart pine, I don't mean pine that you get at the local big box store. Not the same. Okay, this is gonna have just a brilliant dark burgundy to it. And if we spray some water on here, so that's what we could expect right there without doing anything but just adding oil to it. And that's just the exterior. If we go deeper into this, the wood's gonna get prettier. I've worked with this wood before, I know, it's gorgeous. Okay, so completely finished, it would just be something special. All right, but it would be nice to be able to leave it in this state with the axe marks still in here from where it's hand hewed, the character, and shows the history. Okay, so this isn't faux anything, this is actual. And for me, that's special. Okay, my biggest concern is it's so rough on the outside that you'd never be able to keep this clean. All right, so dust over the years, you can't just wipe this down. All right, the splinters and everything else, again, it just being so rough, too much texture to it. Now the oil would help, boiled linseed oil, it would cure into the wood, it would preserve the wood, it would keep the natural color, natural beauty of the wood. All right, and I'm gonna do a lot of stained trim throughout the rest of the house. It would really match this well. So it would all work together. but the oil isn't going to be able to help with all those bits and pieces and chunks of things and so forth. So just out of curiosity, I'm going to run a wire brush over here just to see how much of this loose stuff it'll knock off. I don't want to get as aggressive as you would get with a wire brush on a drill. Okay, for me that makes a nice smooth surface. I've seen a lot of people do that. Something that you could clean over time. That, you know, it's still not a finished machine surface, but it just, for me, it just doesn't look right. I guess because I've worked with so much old lumber in the past, I know what it looks like, what it feels like, and that just doesn't look natural to me. All right, but I've got a wire brush here. I was curious as would this get rid of the majority of the loose impediments on the surface. And it's doing pretty well going with the grain, but against the grain it's, I don't know, it's smoothening out. And when I say with the grain or against the grain, okay, so think of it just like a cat, petting a cat. I can run my hand this way and it's fine. If I ran my hand the opposite direction, it would be full of splinters. That's against the grain. And all of those little pieces that you would get from all of the splinter ends that you'd get in your hand from this, like this, okay, that's what I'm trying to get rid of here. All right, if I could get it that smooth, then when I filled it in or did an application or several applications of oil on this, I think it would be to the point that I could keep it clean over time, keep it dusted and so forth. The splinters are real. Okay, that's what I'm trying to avoid right there. Okay, that's not bad right there with just this little wire brush. Maybe something more aggressive would give me what I'm looking for, like a wire wheel on a drill. Okay, I would try that right now, except for my drill's over at the new house where we've been working. So let's go on to option B. This is a hand plane, and this particular side of this beam's a lot smoother. So I don't have to worry about taking out the axe marks and things like that from the hand hewing. So I am curious as to what this will look like cleaned up, and I just want to make sure there are no nails in this. All right, so let's see what we got with more of a finished surface. That's looking pretty good also, but unfortunately it's getting rid of most of the character in the beam. But it's still leaving the low spots, so it's not taking it all away. And it's bringing out the natural color of the heart pine also, which, again, it's just gorgeous wood. So let me clean up this surface and just see what we've got. And that might be our best option right there. That looks pretty good. We've still got some of the character. On the rougher side, we'll have even more of the character left, but we've also got more of the natural beauty of the wood coming through. And if I hit this with a little water, let's see what this looks like. Now we can really see the color of this heart pine. And that's what it would look like with oil on it. I think planing this down like this is going to be the best way for me to go. This is tricky. It removes a lot of the character of the wood, but it still leaves plenty in the low spots, and it also reveals the natural beauty of the wood. Okay, and it's tricky with a piece of wood like this. All right, so this is mid-1800s, so we'll just say 150 years old. I'm still not sure if it's before or after the Civil War, but either way, it's old, okay? And it's got the tool marks in it where it's hand hewed. This represents the way things done are what way back when. All right, and this isn't just theory. This is actual. This is real. This is from that time. Okay, now, I know something, a piece of wood 150 years old doesn't mean a whole lot in Europe. Okay, y'all have got wood a lot older than that. But here in America, okay, 150-year-old piece of wood, that's something here, especially in the South. Okay, with it being so hot and humid here in the South, insects and everything else, wood that does not last as long here, or tends not to. Okay, not to mention we had that little thing called the Civil War where most of the South got burned. A lot of the things from before the Civil War didn't survive after. Okay, so this piece of wood itself, just in what it is special, but the wood is special, forgetting when it was made and so forth, the natural beauty of the wood. And I'm reminded of God telling Moses to build an altar of unhewed stone. It would just defile his work, God's work. Okay, so man's tool marks in this are God's work in making the wood, and I think God's work's more impressive. All right, so yeah, it's tricky with this particular piece, and all of the beams that I've got to work with, because they're all old. I think I'm going with the plain look on these. I think that's going to work best for the space these beams are going to be in. And something to keep in mind also, the character of the beams used, that's going to affect the space. Okay, so more tool marks, hand-hewed surfaces, rougher, it would give the space a more rustic look. All right, planed down more, it's going to give it a more polished, more finished look. Okay, I think planing most of the surfaces, I think that's going to give me the best look. I think it's going to make the wood easier to work with, flatter surfaces. And I'm going to make sure I leave plenty of character in here. It's going to have plenty of character left in it, so I'm not going to take all of the tool marks off. I think that's going to be the best combination for what I'm trying to do. But either way, with wood like this, there are no bad decisions. There's no bad choices. This wood's going to look great no matter what, just because of the natural beauty of this wood, be it in a rougher state or a more finished state. Okay, well, that was interesting, and I guess I got some work to do. God bless, and have a great day.